You can take the guest room. Or move out, my mother said flatly, her tone slicing through me like glass. I froze, half expecting her to laugh to tell me she didn't mean it, but then Ethan stepped out from behind her, his arm wrapped around his perfect wife, Olivia, and smirked. Great if you're out by the weekend, he added cheerfully. It felt like the floor gave way beneath me. The house I'd paid for, cared for, lived in since Dad died, wasn't mine anymore. So, I packed in silence. No fight, no tears, just the hollow sound of drawers closing and my heartbeat in my ears. But here's the thing about silence, it's never permanent. Because days later, Ethan's grin faded, Mom's calm cracked. And when I came back, their world was falling apart. Mom, Ethan whispered, trembling. Tell me she's lying. For 5 years, that house had been my whole world. After Dad's heart gave out one gray October morning, everything crumbled except me. Mom stopped cooking. She stopped laughing. Some days she didn't even get out of bed. So, I stayed. I was 23, newly promoted at the company, with a transfer offer to Seattle. A better job, a bigger paycheck, a fresh start. But when I saw Mom staring at Dad's empty chair at the dinner table, I couldn't leave. Take care of her, Grace, Dad's voice echoed in my head. You're stronger than she is. So I did. I paid the bills. I fixed leaks. I shoveled snow at 6 a.m., while Mom complained that I'd left footprints on the porch. She never thanked me. Instead, she'd sigh and say, Ethan would have done it better. He always knew how to handle things. Ode, Ethan, her golden boy. My brother who hadn't called for years, except when he needed money. He was the light of her life, even from miles away, while I was just the leftover. Still, I kept believing love would come back if I worked hard enough. I decorated the living room with Dad's favorite blue curtains, cooked Sunday dinners for 2, and sent birthday cards to Ethan and his wife, even when they didn't reply. But nothing changed. The house stayed cold, no matter how many candles I lit, and then, one Thursday night, I came home from work and smelled something I hadn't smelled in years, Mom's apple pie. For a second, I smiled. Maybe she was finally healing. But when I walked into the kitchen, I froze. Ethan was there, sitting at the counter like a guest of honor, laughing with a mouthful of pie. Olivia leaned against the counter beside him, scrolling on her phone, looking bored but smug. Mom beamed like she was hosting a royal dinner. Grace, look who's home. I forced a smile. I can see that. What's going on? Olivia glanced at Ethan. His company downsized. We kind of lost our place, Mom immediately added. So they'll be staying here for a while. Just until things settle. I blinked. In this house? Yes, Mom said. They're family, Grace. So am I said quietly. Mom gave a little shrug. You'll figure it out. You're good at that. Ethan leaned back, smirking. Don't worry, sis. We won't be in your way. I laughed softly, but it wasn't humor. It was disbelief. For years, I'd carried her grief, her house, her life. And now, I was the inconvenience. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at the wall. My suitcase was still under the bed, dusty but ready. I hadn't touched it since Dad's funeral. Something deep inside whispered, you should have left a long time ago. The next morning, I woke to the sound of laughter echoing down the hallway. For a split second, I thought I was dreaming. Then I heard Olivia's voice. In my kitchen, when I stepped out of my room, the smell of bacon and perfume mixed in the air. Ethan sat shirtless at the table, scrolling his phone while Mom fluttered around, serving breakfast like it was Christmas morning. Morning, sleepyhead, Ethan said, flashing a grin. Mom makes better eggs than you ever did. Mom chuckled like it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. I ignored the comment and reached for a cup. You didn't tell me you were making breakfast. Oh, you were tired, Mom said lightly. You've had your chance to play caretaker. Let me take care of them for a change. Them. The word hit like a slap. After breakfast, Olivia took over the living room, feet up, laptop out, scattering her makeup across the coffee table. Ethan unpacked boxes straight into the master closet, humming like he owned the place. By afternoon, there were shoes by the door that weren't mine. jackets hanging where Dad's used to, and a new toothbrush in my bathroom. When I walked in, Ethan didn't even look up. "Oh hey, we thought it'd be easier if we all shared the bathroom for now." I clenched my jaw. "Right, because boundaries are optional." He frowned. "What's your problem, Grace? You act like you built this house." "I did keep it from falling apart," I said, my voice sharp. He just laughed. "Don't get dramatic. Mom said she paid the mortgage." Mom walked in at that moment, her tone suddenly icy. "Ethan, Olivia, why don't you two go grab lunch? I need to talk to your sister." When they left, she turned to me. "I don't like your tone. Then maybe you should listen to my words." I shot back. "You let them move in without even asking me. There isn't enough space here." She cut me off. "They'll take your room." My chest tightened. "Excuse me?" "You can move into the guest room," she said flatly. "Or move out. It's up to you." I blinked, waiting for her to smirk, to laugh, to tell me she was kidding. But she didn't. She just crossed her arms and looked at me like I was an unwanted tenant. "You're serious?" I whispered. "I'm done discussing this. Ethan belongs here. He's family." "I'm family too," she sighed. "You've always acted like you were doing me a favor staying here. I never asked you to." I laughed bitterly. "You didn't have to. You couldn't function without me." Her voice snapped like a whip. "I don't need you anymore. I have Ethan now." It was the same tone she used when Dad forgot an anniversary, sharp, cruel, final. That night, I didn't sleep. Every creak of the floorboard felt like the house itself was whispering, "Leave before she breaks you too." The next morning, Ethan knocked on my door, cheerful as ever. "Hey, Mom says if you could be out by the weekend, that'd be great. We kind of need the space." He didn't wait for an answer, just smiled and walked away, humming. I stood there, staring at the wall, my hands trembling. 5 years of sacrifice, dismissed with a single smile. That's when I knew I wasn't staying one more night in a house that forgot who kept it standing. That Friday evening, I came home late from work. The house was loud. Ethan's laughter, Olivia's voice, music echoing down the hall. I paused by the front door, holding my breath. For the first time, I realized how foreign my own home felt. Boxes I didn't recognize were stacked by the stairs. My favorite lamp was gone, replaced by some flashy golden one. There were wine glasses on the counter, lipstick stains and crumbs everywhere. Mom was sitting at the dining table, smiling, actually smiling as Ethan showed her something on his phone. For a moment, she looked like the woman she used to be, and then she saw me. "Oh, Grace," she said casually. "Ethan and Olivia are thinking of repainting the kitchen. It's too dull." I stared at her. "You mean my kitchen?" "It's everyone's kitchen," she replied sharply. I laughed under my breath. Funny. It never felt like that when I was the only one cleaning it. Ethan looked up, feigning innocence. "You're still upset about the room thing? Come on, Grace, be mature. You've been here forever. Maybe this is your sign to start fresh." My sign? My sign had been flashing in neon since the day Dad died. I just ignored it. I went upstairs and opened my closet. My clothes hung neatly where they'd been for years, untouched except by time. In the corner, under a layer of dust, sat the manila folder labeled Transfer Offer, Seattle. I pulled it out. The papers inside were still crisp. A lease offer, relocation package, bonus. Everything I'd turned down to take care of Mom. I read every line again, slowly this time. No guilt, no hesitation, just clarity. The next morning, I called HR. "Hi, this is Grace Thompson. I'd like to activate my transfer request." By Friday afternoon, the paperwork was done. I had a key waiting, a studio apartment, and movers scheduled for Saturday. No one in the house noticed. They were too busy talking about their welcome back barbecue. Mom was planning the guest list. Ethan was testing the new grill. Olivia was picking wallpaper. Not once did any of them ask how I was doing. Saturday morning came. I woke early, sunlight spilling across my room like a final goodbye. The movers arrived at 10 sharp. Ethan blinked when he saw the truck. "Wait, you're really moving out?" "Yeah," I said, calm, measured. "You wanted the space." He glanced at the growing pile of boxes. "You're taking the bed, the couch, the dining table?" "Yes." Grace. Mom's voice rose from the stairs. You can't just take everything. I turned slowly. Everything I paid for, you mean? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. We kept loading the truck. My bookshelves, my coffee maker, the rug from the living room. Every single item that had my name on the receipt. A mover paused at the door. You really want to take all of this? I smiled faintly. Yes, all of it. By afternoon, the house was hollow, no warmth, no light, just echoes. The faint outline of furniture still marked the floor, like ghosts of the life I'd built there. When I turned around one last time, Mom stood in the doorway, her face pale, her eyes wide. Ethan looked lost. Olivia didn't meet my gaze. I took a deep breath. Good luck with your new life, I said quietly. Then I closed the door behind me. The air outside was crisp, almost unreal. For the first time in years, I felt light. My hands shook as I locked the door, but it wasn't fear. It was freedom. That night, I sat on the floor of my new apartment. The walls were bare, the furniture mismatched, but it was mine. No shouting, no guilt, just peace. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled. It didn't even take a week for the calls to start. At first, it was Mom, then Ethan, then Olivia. Voicemails piled up. Grace, we need to talk. Where did you take the coffee maker? Mom's really upset. Call us back. Then the tone changed. You had no right to touch that money. What are we supposed to do now? Grace, please, this isn't funny. Call me back. I didn't. I turned off my phone, brewed tea, and sat by my new window watching the city glow like a promise. For the first time, their voices couldn't reach me. 3 days later, a coworker popped her head into my office. Grace? There's a woman and a man in the lobby. They said they're your family. My stomach dropped. I walked to the hallway and peeked down. There they were, Mom in her pearls and Ethan in a wrinkled suit, both looking out of place and furious. I didn't go down. Instead, I told reception to say I wasn't available. For an hour, they sat there waiting, pacing, arguing. Then they left. That evening, driving home, I passed by the old neighborhood. The house lights were off except for the porch. Something in me twisted, part anger, part curiosity, part closure. I parked by the curb and walked up. The key was still on my ring. Mom had never asked for it back. The air inside smelled of dust and burnt coffee. Mom stood in the kitchen, arms crossed, her face tight with anger. Ethan was pacing like a caged animal. What the hell did you do? Mom snapped. I dropped my keys on the counter. Hello to you too. You cleaned the place out. There's nothing left. No furniture, no TV, no toaster. That's right, I said evenly. Everything that was mine is gone with me. Ethan barked a bitter laugh. You can't just take things because you bought them. That's literally how ownership works, I said coldly. He stepped forward, his face flushed. You left us with nothing. I met his glare. You mean I stopped giving you everything? Mom slammed her hand on the counter. You're ungrateful. After all I did for you. I cut her off. What did you do for me, Mom? You let me pay your bills, fix your house, and then you gave my room to Ethan. That's not love. That's convenience. Her face reddened. I was angry. I didn't mean it. Yes, you did, I said quietly. You just didn't expect me to listen. For a moment, silence filled the kitchen. The refrigerator hummed. The old clock ticked. And somewhere outside, a car door slammed. Then Ethan's voice cut through it. Mom, tell me she's lying. I turned toward him, confused. Lying about what? He clenched his jaw. About the money, the insurance. Mom said Dad's payout was still sitting in the account. She told us if we came back, we'd be fine. Mom froze. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I frowned. What insurance? The life insurance, Ethan said, his voice rising. The one Dad left for all of us. She said it's still there. I looked at Mom. You didn't. Her eyes darted to the floor. Mom, Ethan said again, this time shaking. Tell me she's lying. The silence that followed was unbearable. Finally, she whispered, We'll talk about it later. Ethan's voice cracked. Later? There's nothing left, is there? Her face crumpled. I didn't want to worry you. He took a step back like she'd slapped him. You lied to me. And just like that, I understood why they'd come crawling back. It was never about family. It was about money. I took a deep breath and said softly, "There hasn't been any money for years. The insurance was gone a long time ago." Ethan's eyes widened. Olivia's name slipped from his mouth like a curse. Mom's hand trembled on the counter. I turned for the door. "Now you know the truth," I said. "And you can stop pretending this was ever about love." The door clicked shut behind me, and their voices echoed faintly inside. A mix of rage, panic, and realization. "Grace, wait," Mom's voice cracked behind me, but I didn't turn. "Don't walk out on us," she shouted. I stopped in the doorway. "Walk out? You already threw me out, remember?" Ethan's voice thundered behind her. "You can't just drop a bomb like that and leave. Tell me the truth, Mom. Where's the money?" Mom's eyes darted between us like a trapped animal. It's complicated." "Complicated?" I repeated, turning back slowly. "Trigon." Her face went pale. Ethan's did too. He took a step closer to her. "You told me Dad's insurance was still in the joint account. You said we could use it to pay our debts." Mom held up her hands. "I was trying to protect you." "Protect me?" he snapped. "You lied to me." I folded my arms, watching the scene like a bad rerun of my childhood, Ethan yelling, Mom crumbling, me in the middle cleaning up the wreckage. "You came back here," I said evenly, "because you thought there was money waiting for you. Not because you missed her. Not because you cared." Ethan's head whipped toward me. "That's not true." "Then why do you look terrified right now?" He didn't answer. Mom's lip quivered. I used some of it after your father died. The bathroom needed remodeling. Then the kitchen. Then you bought Ethan that used Lexus when he got married," I finished for her. She flinched. "That was my savings." I stepped closer. "No, it wasn't. That was from Dad's insurance. I kept the receipts." Ethan's face turned red. "You kept receipts?" "I kept proof," I said, voice steady. "Because I knew one day this would happen." Mom's hands shook as she pressed them to her temples. "Grace, please." "Please what?" I said sharply. "Please lie better? Please pretend you didn't drain Dad's last gift to us just to keep Ethan comfortable?" Her breath hitched. "I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did." Ethan slammed his fist on the counter, the sound echoing through the hollow kitchen. "You said we'd be okay, Mom. You said there was enough to start over. I quit my job because of you." Mom's voice came out as a whisper. "I thought we could figure it out later." "Later?" Ethan's laugh was jagged, hysterical. "You've been saying later my entire life. Later we'll talk. Later we'll fix it. Later you'll stop comparing me to Dad. You lied just to keep me close." Mom's face collapsed. "Because I missed you." I took a deep breath. "No, you missed control. You used guilt and money to keep everyone chained here." Her tears spilled. "Grace, please, help us. You're the only one who can fix this." I shook my head slowly. "I was never supposed to fix it. I was supposed to break free from it." Ethan turned to me, furious. "Don't act like you're innocent. You took everything: furniture, dishes, everything Dad built." "I took what I earned," I said quietly. "You took what you expected. There's a difference." He stepped closer, his eyes wild. "You left us with nothing." I met his stare without flinching. "No, I left you with exactly what you gave me. Nothing." For a moment, all three of us just stood there. The only sound was the wind pushing through the broken window seal, whistling like the house itself was mourning. Then Mom's voice, small and trembling. "What are we supposed to do now?" I reached into my tote bag and pulled out a white envelope. I placed it on the counter between us. "What's this?" Ethan asked warily. "The last mortgage receipt," I said. "The loan's still in your name, Mom. 6 years left. You'll need to cover it now." Her mouth opened in horror. "I can't afford that." "I know," I said simply. Ethan's voice cracked again. "You're heartless." I turned toward him, calm, even serene. "No, Ethan. I just finally learned to stop bleeding for people who never even said thank you." He blinked, speechless. Mom grabbed the edge of the counter for balance. "Grace, I didn't mean for it to get this bad." "I know you didn't," I said softly. But you never tried to make it better either. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Ethan whispered again. Hoarse. Broken. Mom. Tell me she's lying. She didn't answer. That silence was louder than any scream. The silence in that kitchen was suffocating. Ethan stared at Mom, eyes red, chest heaving. She wouldn't meet his gaze. Tell me you didn't lie, he whispered again. No response. Mom, tell me. His voice cracked, like breaking glass. Finally, she whispered, I just wanted to keep us together. Ethan laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. You destroyed us trying to keep us together. He turned away, dragging his hands down his face. I can't believe this. You promised me, Mom. You said there'd be money, that we'd be fine. Mom's hands trembled. I didn't want to lose you again. You didn't lose me, he said coldly. You used me. She reached for him, but he stepped back, disgusted. Then he looked at me. And you stood there watching her spiral and didn't say anything. I met his glare calmly. You never listened, Ethan. You never cared to. Every time I tried to tell you what was happening, you called me jealous. Remember that? His jaw clenched, but he didn't answer. Mom's sob broke through the tension. Please, she whispered. We can fix this. Grace, you've always known how to fix things. You always do. I shook my head. Not this time. You can't just leave us, she said desperately. We're family. I let out a slow, exhausted laugh. Family doesn't throw you out when something shinier walks through the door. Ethan slammed his palm on the counter. You think you're better than us? No, I said. I just finally know my worth. He scoffed. Oh, please. You're acting like some hero. You're the reason we're standing in an empty house. I turned to him. No, Ethan. I just took what I bought. You're standing in the ruins of your own entitlement. For a second, his expression faltered. Then came the rage. You're heartless. I smiled faintly. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just done being your scapegoat. Mom grabbed the envelope I'd left on the counter, the last mortgage receipt, her fingers trembling. You could have left something, she whispered. You left me with nothing. I met her eyes. You left me with nothing first, remember? Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I turned toward the door. Ethan shouted, You can't just walk away. I looked over my shoulder. Watch me. And I walked past the hallway where Dad used to hang his coat, past the staircase I painted every summer, past the walls that had heard every fight, every apology, every silence. Behind me, I could still hear them, Mom sobbing, Ethan pacing, muttering curses under his breath. Then Olivia's voice, small and trembling, There's nothing left, Ethan. She's right. The sound of a plate shattering followed. Outside, the air was cold, sharp, cleansing. For the first time, I wasn't afraid. I stood by my car and looked back one last time. The lights inside flickered, then went dark. That house, the one I'd once fought to keep alive, now looked like what it had always been, a shell. And as I started the engine, I whispered to myself, You can't fix people who enjoy their own chaos. The tires rolled over the gravel, each turn quieter than the last. By the time I reached the end of the street, the noise, the guilt, the weight, all of it was gone. Only silence remained. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was peace. The first night after I left, I didn't sleep. Not because of guilt, but because of silence. Real silence. No creaking floors, no slammed cabinets, no voices arguing through the walls. Just the hum of the refrigerator and the soft ticking of a clock on my nightstand. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, trying to remember the last time I'd felt that kind of calm. I couldn't. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight instead of shouting. I made coffee, just for one. It tasted better than I expected. I spent the weekend unpacking boxes, books, mugs, a few framed photos of Dad. When I found one of all four of us, taken years ago at the lake, I almost put it away. But something in me stopped. I looked at my father's kind smile, at Mom's forced one, at Ethan's grin, confident, carefree. Then I looked at myself, the only one not smiling, caught mid-blink. It felt symbolic, like I'd always been there, half seen, half heard. I put the photo back in the drawer. Some memories didn't deserve shelf space anymore. On Monday, I went back to work. My coworkers noticed the change immediately. "You look lighter," my boss said. I smiled. I guess I finally stopped holding up things that weren't mine. At lunch, I sat alone outside, watching people hurry past. Everyone seemed busy carrying their own worlds, just like I used to. Except now, mine finally felt manageable, not a burden, but a choice. That evening, I took a walk downtown. The streets glowed under soft yellow light. Couples laughed. Music floated out from a cafe. For the first time, I didn't feel envy. I just felt present. My phone buzzed in my pocket, 3 missed calls. Mom. Then a text. The bank called. "We can't make the next payment. Ethan's furious. Please, we need you." I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back, "I hope you figure it out." And I meant it. That night, I made dinner: pasta, garlic bread, a glass of wine. I sat by the window, city lights blinking like small promises. For years, I'd cooked for people who never thanked me. Tonight, I cooked for myself. When I went to bed, I thought of Dad again. He would have hated what the family became, but maybe, deep down, he'd be proud of me for finally walking away. Before drifting off, I whispered, "I kept my promise, Dad. I took care of her, just not forever." And for the first time, I dreamed of something other than responsibility. I dreamed of freedom. It's been 6 weeks since I walked out of that house. 6 weeks of quiet mornings, small victories, and no one slamming doors behind me. Sometimes, I still wake up expecting to hear Mom calling my name, or Ethan shouting from across the hall, but all I hear now is birds outside my window and the sound of coffee brewing. I got promoted last week. My manager said it was long overdue, that I'd been carrying the load for years without realizing it. I smiled. The irony wasn't lost on me. A few days later, a former neighbor called. Apparently, the old house sat on the market for 3 weeks before someone lowballed them. They had no choice but to sell. Mom moved into a small apartment near downtown. Ethan and Olivia split up. She left for her sister's place in Nevada. And Ethan? He's working night shifts at a warehouse now, trying to pay off the remaining debt. The house I once fought so hard to save, the one Dad rebuilt with his hands, now belongs to strangers. But somehow, that feels right. Because that place died long before I left. Now, my life fits in a single apartment, not grand, but mine. The couch doesn't match the rug, and the curtains are too short, but it feels alive. Some evenings, I sit on the balcony with tea and watch the sun sink behind the skyline. The city hums softly below, full of stories just like mine, people breaking free, people finally choosing themselves. I used to think leaving meant failure. Now I know it means survival. They kicked me out thinking I was disposable, that I was the problem, the burden. But in the end, I was the one holding everything together. Without me, the house collapsed. Without me, their lies came apart. And without them, I finally learned what peace sounds like. So, when people ask if I miss them, I smile and say, no, I don't miss the house. I don't miss the noise. I just miss the version of myself who thought love meant staying. I raise my cup toward the fading sun, whispering softly, I was never the burden, I was the backbone. And this time, the silence feels like applause.